Yung depression is a common call because every one of us goes through a certain sort of transitions in life. Normal. Somebody dies, somebody goes away, you lost in a game, whatever it is, big, minor.
Different degrees of depression.
It's always So in some cases, I try to normalize depression.
Okay.
So that people don't think they're, I must be getting crazy because I'm getting depressed, But it's not usually the case.
Okay.
Everybody goes through, like, self-image. Even, a guy like you, who probably looks like he has everything, meron pa rin di ba?
I get depressed. And the sad thing, and this is just, an admittance to everybody. I mean, we're very honest, in our lives. Like, the bad thing about depression, well, at least in my personal case, is that the depression tends to stain into the other areas of my life. It affects the way I relate with people, the way I relate to myself, and it affects my work because my mind is not intact. And kumbaga, kumakalat, sumasabog all of my thoughts. And that's the reason why I don't like being depressed. Although you can, as a person, identify what's causing the depression, but I can't seem to control what the depression does in my life. And that's the problem,
Yeah. By the way, I don't want to say something too extreme. I have to say that there are some people who become clinically depressed.
When you say clinically depressed,
well, those are people who cannot function at all.
Yes, some.
Yeah.
And I've gone through that also. Like, I don't want to come out of my bed.
Yes, yes. Now, there are different kinds of depression. There's chronic, something that comes back and forth usually in the colder climates, when there's, only 2 hours of sunlight in a day. But here,
foggy places.
But here, we don't have that much. Now, there are also people who, get depressed in certain situations. There are also those people who are going through major depressive episodes. All right, but we're not going to deal with that.
Right.
Let's deal with the general population.
Yeah.
Okay. With the general population, it's usually, depression is usually treated through just cognitive therapy, which means, it's a technical term. This means we help people think better.
Okay.
Usually, it's just about faulty thinking.
That's why people get depressed.
Yes. And, I have to be everything to everyone all the time. I have to please everybody. If somebody is not happy with me, then I am such a failure. Or, if somebody honks his horn behind me, then that means, he's telling me I'm a stupid driver. So these kinds of things. Or sometimes we miss the forest for the trees. All right. So we see one tree. It seems to be, that doesn't look good. But we miss the other parts of ourselves that are worthwhile, that are, good.
So it's basically that same concept of like having a blank piece of paper, and if you have one dot on it, concentrating on one black dot rather than the rest of the paper, which is actually white.
Yes.
So it goes back to count your blessings. Yes. That's also...
Yes. And another cause of depression is those people who can't seem to say no.
Okay.
No boundaries. When you have no boundaries, anybody can just come in. For example, you have a house. You don't have boundaries in your house. You don't have walls in your house. So anybody can go in there, just get your food, do whatever they want in your house. If you don't have doors, you don't have walls, you don't have anything to protect yourself. Rain comes in, and you get drenched in rain, whatever.
So you become a victim of circumstances, so to speak.
You become everybody else's slave, for instance. There
are many like that, yes.
Yeah, you can't say no. Because you feel like if I say no,
people will hate me.
People will hate me, and that's one.
And this is very common, actually. People who try to
people pleasers.
Yes. So this is the manifestation. Is depression could set into people like this.
Yeah, perfectionist too.
Perfectionist also, because everything is a disappointment if it's not perfect.
Exactly.
Okay, so it really depends on the person. What about people who aren't attached? Because because I'm a very sentimental person, and I have attachments to people, to memories, to places, things that have some sort of significance to me, although that's both good and bad at the same time, I think. But there are also some people who don't have any attachments, who don't really, who don't put value on their past. Like, you can go, and if they get a job in another country, they don't look back about what they had here, or between friends and one relationship to another. Is this a better attitude, or is it better to because this tends to be the extremities, of different personalities.
Yeah. All right. Well, you can say it's more of a cultural thing too.
Okay. Culture.
Like in the U.S.,
Mm-hmm.
most of my training was basically very Western.
Okay.
So most of the books were written by. So I had to take some of the things that I read and study with a grain of salt,
Mm-hmm.
and say, well, in the U.S., you basically don't have job security.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
If the company calls you, hey, today you're in Los Angeles, tomorrow you go to Utah.
Uh-huh.
All right?
And you can't argue. You just have to go to Utah.
Well, otherwise you don't have the job.
Right.
Or you don't have the promotion, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
All right? So people are very transient. People just move from place to place. So the good side of that is that you're able to say goodbye.
Yeah, that's a good point, sir. That's a good point. Some people don't know how to say goodbye. I have a hard time saying goodbye, but I have known people who just say goodbye and that's it. And it means goodbye. Is that a good thing? Yeah, I don't know.
Well, there are some things we call necessary or endings.
Mm.
Some endings have to really begin.
Mm.
So there's an oxymoron, diba? You have to begin to end something.
Mm.
If you're doing something that's really not successful, blah blah blah. There's this old saying. I hate to sound very cliche, but people who are crazy are those people who do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result every time.
Which is not possible, because if you're doing the same thing, you will get the same result every time.
Yes.
Until you do something different, and then you will get a different result.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's the positive side of it.
Okay.
But here in Asia, I heard in China,
Mm-hmm.
I saw this in some of the cable news that I watch.
Okay.
The Chinese young adults, maybe in their late 20s or mid 20s to the early 30s, were just about getting married and starting a life of their own. Right? They usually have a very puny salary, something they can't really survive on. But they go by getting support from their parents, who probably own a business, or kind of rich, well off, affluent, and then and the rest of their money, because they get all these benefits from their parents,
Right.
they used to buy purchase stuff. So again, this is a cultural difference.
Okay.
So you're somehow still attached to your parents. All right.
But there's a certain degree of independence, because you also have your own job.
Yes, you have your own job, you have your own place, but at the same time, some things go to you for free. Like your parents pay for some of your stuff. All right. Maybe some of the basic stuff. Your rent, your food, and et cetera, et cetera. All right.
Right.
So there's some good side. There are some good sides to that,
And there's
also a drawback.
So just in everything you have to take the good with the bad.
Yes. Now it really just depends on how it's affecting you. If it works for you, then fine.
If it doesn't work for you, then you have to find something else.
Yes.
And that's already you speaking. You can't expect other people to change for you, right? Because you cannot control those variables, but you can change yourself somehow.
Yes. Basically, what I usually tell my clients is that you can change. Now, if you're in a family setting, all right, then a change in one person can actually create ripples. Let's pretend that husband and wife keep fighting, and more often than not, the woman is the one coming for counseling.
Mm-hmm.
The husband doesn't want.
Right.
Okay. Husband, I'm not crazy. I'm only a counselor.
Yeah,
right?
that's the stigma.
Yeah, they seem to think that people who are really, sort of out there who have problems are usually the people who don't know that they have problems.
Right.
Or don't want to.
True, because the moment that you admit that
Yeah.
you have a problem, it's basically the first step to getting better, because at least you know that there's something wrong. But I think a very important part is, if I may jump, is a lot of people, their self-image is built on media, built on certain things that society wants to show, or like what they perceive on television. How true is this? How is our self-image influenced by media?
Yes, I love that topic.
Okay. Okay.
Anyway, you look at the latest commercial, what do you see? Oh, when you do this, you're going to look like this person. When you use this product, you're going to look like this person.
Mm-hmm.
When you use this product, you're going to have tons of women going after you.
Mm-hmm.
All right? And there's this underlying message that says, life is all about being happy.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
So nothing wrong with that if you want to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
But if that becomes your overarching goal in life,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes some kind of a theme in your life, that if I'm not happy, then I must be a failure.
Oh, I see.
So you are not only unhappy that you are unhappy, but you're so unhappy because of the fact that you're unhappy.
So it's like a double-edged sword, because I don't really understand that. But that's if happiness is your goal, right? Or at least what the media perceives to be happy, quote-unquote.
Yes, it becomes the end goal in life. Like, people go to church and they hear messages saying that you should be happy.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not happy, then maybe
You're frustrated.
Maybe there's something sinful in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Parang ganon.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another part of religion being one of the things that can hurt you in a way.
Right.
If you're not sort of let's say evaluating what you hear.
Okay.
All right. From media, from whoever, leaders, churches, etc.
Politicians, anything.
Politicians, So media has, because that's how we are built.
Mm-hmm.
We were creatures of comfort. We like, some philosophers of long time ago believed that people would always look for pleasure and avoid pain.
Mm.
But that's also one side of us that's very powerful.
Mm.
So marketing would do that to you. I've studied marketing before, and I have a degree in marketing too.
Oh,
so,
I see.
So that's how you sort of use the mind to make it believe that this something will really get you something, but it's just a fantasy.
So it's just like, basically, it's just like the fairy tale mentality in the Walt Disney times, where you're just like if you're a girl, you will find your Prince Charming and live happily ever after. Something like that? Is that what it is?
In the U.S. they had this big controversy, all right, about this T-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get an education, just be a princess. It said something like that.
How do you do that? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to study. You just need to be a princess.
Mm.
So all these stories about Cinderella, Snow White, or those T-shirts that say princess, doll, or so you become something like an object. Yeah, somebody just needs to own you in the future. You don't have to be anybody. Just be a woman, sexy, hot, look like a princess every day.
And then you're made, pretty much. And that was
And you're happy.
And then you're happy. But on the other side, speaking of the U.S. culture, there's also a lot of racism. Racism because of skin color, racism because of looks and stuff. So does this also contribute to poor self-image? I mean, like, let's say if you're one of the races that is supposed to be that you're supposed to be discriminated against.
Well, yes. In terms of bigotry, I think